Hi everybody, this is Denise Webb. I'm taking a quick break during the day to try to get a video in. I'm trying to finish up the NIST risk management framework as outlined in NIST Special Publication 837, and this is the last piece of that at this level of detail. This video will be about the roles and responsibilities that are in the NIST risk management framework. There are 20 roles that NIST outline as instrumental in getting risk management work done. And I have them in alphabetical order, and we're just going to take them in turn. I don't know if I did them in alphabetical order. Let's see. This is 66 slides. I'm going to run quickly through this, so hopefully it won't take more than the lunch hour that I have. All right, authorizing official. The authorizing official is the chief executive with the authority to formally assume responsibility and accountability for operating a system, providing common controls inherited by the system, or using a system service or application from an external provider. This is the person who typically has budgetary oversight for the system or who is responsible for the mission or business operations that are supported by the system. The only organizational official who can accept the security and privacy risk. The authorizing official approves plans, MOUs, MOAs, and POAMs. They determine whether significant changes in the system or the environment require reauthorization. Authorizing officials approve your plans, memorandums of understanding. They coordinate activities with common control providers, with system owners, chief information officers, chief information security officers, chief privacy officers, all of the other roles, and any other interested parties during the authorization process. These are the people who are responsible for saying, yeah, it's okay to operate this system and I accept the risk. With increasing complexity of mission business processes, partnership arrangements, and the use of shared services, it is possible that a system may involve co-authorizing officials. And you can look in OMB Circular A130 for more information about how that works. When a system is co-authorized, agreements are established between the co-authorizing officials, and they're also documented in the security and privacy plans. Authorizing officials are responsible and accountable for ensuring that activities and functions associated with authorization that are delegated to authorizing officials' designated representatives are carried out as specified. The role of AO is an inherent U.S. government function and is assigned to government personnel only. Now, the authorizing official designated representative, this is a second role. The organizational official designated by the AO. They are empowered to act on behalf of the authorizing official to coordinate and conduct the day-to-day activities associated with managing risk to information systems and organizations. This includes carrying out many of the activities related to the execution of the risk management framework. The only activity that cannot be delegated by the authorizing official to the designated representative is the authorization decision and the signing of the associated authorization decision documents. So the designated representative cannot accept risk. Only the authorizing official can do that. All right, the next role is the Chief Information Officer. The Chief Information Officer designates a Chief Information Security Officer. He or she develops and maintains security policies, procedures, and control techniques to address many requirements. The CIO oversees personnel with significant responsibilities for security. They ensure that personnel are adequately trained. They assist senior officials concerning their security responsibilities. And the Chief Information Officer typically reports to the head of the agency or company on the effectiveness of the organization's security program, including the progress of any remedial actions that have to be taken. With the support of the risk executive function and the Chief Information Security Officer, The Chief Information Officer works closely with the authorizing officials and their designated representatives to help ensure that, one, the organization-wide security program is effectively implemented, resulting in adequate security for all systems and the environment of operations. Security and supply chain risk management considerations are integrated into programming, planning, budgeting cycles, enterprise architectures, the system development lifecycle, and any acquisitions. They ensure that systems and common controls are covered by appropriate system security plans and that they all possess current authorizations. They ensure that security-related activities required across the business are accomplished in an efficient, cost-effective, and timely manner, and they also ensure that there is centralized reporting of security-related activities. The Chief Information Officer and the authorizing officials determine the allocation of resources dedicated to protecting systems that support the organization's mission and business functions based on the priorities of the organization. For systems that process PII, the Chief Information Officer and the authorizing officials coordinate any determination about the allocation of resources to protect those information systems with the Chief Privacy Officer. So anytime PII is involved, the Chief Information Officer will pull in the Chief Privacy Officer to ensure that those privacy needs are also being addressed. For selected systems, the Chief Information Officer may also be designated as an authorizing official or a co-authorizing official with other senior organizational officials. The role of the CIO is an inherent U.S. government function and is assigned to government personnel only. I have a note here that says when a formal CIO has not been designated, then FISMA requires that the associated responsibilities be handled by a comparable organizational official. Next up, you have what's called a common control provider. Your common control provider can be an individual, a group, or an organization that is responsible for the implementation, assessment, and monitoring of common controls. For example, controls inherited by organizational systems. The common control provider ensures that the documentation of common controls in security and privacy plans or equivalent documents that the organization uses, they ensure that the common controls are properly documented. They also ensure that required assessments of common controls are conducted by qualified assessors with the appropriate level of independence. Common control providers document assessment findings in control assessment reports, and they produce POAMs or plan of actions and milestones for controls that are deficient. The organization can have many different common control providers depending on how security and privacy responsibilities are allocated throughout your organization. Your common control providers may be system owners when the common controls reside within an organizational system. Common control providers make their security and privacy plans, security and privacy assessment reports, and the POAMs for common controls available to the owners of the systems that are going to inherit those common controls. This happens after the information is reviewed and approved by the AO, who is accountable for common controls. So the common control provider and privacy controls. Well, the way that works is the chief privacy officer, I'm distracted, is responsible for designating which privacy controls may be treated as common controls. Let me say that again. The chief privacy officer, or in the federal government, what's called the senior agency official for privacy, is responsible for designating which privacy controls may be treated as common controls. The chief privacy officer has oversight responsibility for common controls in place or planned for meeting privacy requirements and for managing privacy risk. Privacy controls that are designated as common controls are documented in the organization's privacy program plan. The Chief Privacy Officer is responsible for assessing privacy controls that are designated as common controls. At the agency's discretion, those privacy controls may be assessed by an independent assessor, but as I told you in an earlier presentation, that privacy controls don't require the same level of security controls. In all cases, however, the Chief Privacy Officer retains responsibility and accountability for the organization's privacy program, including any privacy functions that are performed by independent assessors. Your privacy plans and privacy control assessment reports are made available to system owners whose systems inherit privacy controls that are designated as common controls. A privacy program plan is a formal document that provides an overview of the agency's privacy program, including a description of the structure of the privacy program, the role of the senior agency official for privacy and other privacy officials and staff, strategic goals and objectives of the privacy program, resources that have been dedicated to the privacy program, program management controls, and common controls that are in place or planned for meeting privacy requirements and managing privacy risks. All right, the next role is your contract officer representative. The contract officer representative, sometimes called the contracting officer technical representative, is an individual tasked by the contracting officer to ensure that functional and security privacy requirements are appropriately addressed in contracts, and to ensure that the contractor meets the functional and security privacy requirements as stated in the contract. Next up is your control assessor. Your control assessor is an individual, group, or organization that is responsible for conducting a comprehensive assessment of the controls and the control enhancements implemented within or inherited by a system to determine the effectiveness of the controls. And we all know that means that the controls are implemented correctly, operating as intended, and producing the desired outcome with respect to meeting the security and privacy requirements for the system. The system owner and the common control provider rely on the security and privacy expertise of the assessor to assess the controls implemented within the system and inherited by the system, using the assessment procedures that have been specified in the security and privacy assessment plans. Multiple control assessors who are differentiated by their expertise in specific control requirements or technologies may be required to accurately conduct the assessment. Before initiating the control assessment, the control assessor will review the security and privacy plans to facilitate developing the security assessment plan. The control assessor provides an assessment of the severity of the deficiencies discovered in the system and in the environment of operation. They also recommend corrective actions to address identified vulnerabilities. And finally, the control assessor will prepare security and privacy assessment reports that contain the results and findings from the assessment. Now let's talk about control assessor independence. The required level of assessor independence is determined by the conditions of the control assessment. When a security control assessment is conducted to support an authorization decision or an ongoing authorization, then the authorizing official makes an explicit determination of the degree of independence that is required in keeping with federal policies, directives, standards, and guidelines. Assessor independence is important in preserving an impartial and unbiased assessment process, determining the credibility of the assessment results, and also in ensuring that the authorizing official receives objective information to make an informed, risk-based authorization decision. So your control assessors have to be independent. Now, with respect to privacy controls, the chief official for privacy is responsible for assessing privacy controls and providing privacy-related information to the authorizing official. At the discretion of the organization, privacy controls may be assessed by an independent assessor. In all cases, the chief privacy officer retains the responsibility and accountability for the privacy program of the organization, including any privacy-related functions that are performed by independent assessors. All right, our next role is the enterprise architect. The enterprise architect can be an individual or a group responsible for working with leadership and subject matter. The enterprise architect is an individual or group responsible for working with leadership and subject matter experts to build a holistic view of the organization's missions and business functions, mission and business processes, information and information technology assets with respect to information security and privacy. Enterprise architects do the following. They implement an enterprise architecture strategy that facilitates effective security and privacy solutions. They coordinate with security and privacy architects to determine the optimal placement of systems and system elements within the enterprise architecture, and also to address security and privacy issues between systems and the enterprise architecture. And the enterprise architect will also assist in reducing the complexity within the IT infrastructure to facilitate security. They assist with determining appropriate control implementations and initial configuration baselines as they relate to the enterprise architecture. They also collaborate with system owners and authorizing officials to facilitate authorization boundary determinations and also allocation of controls to system elements. They serve as part of the risk executive function, and enterprise architects also assist with integration of the organization's risk management strategy and system level security and privacy requirements into program planning and budgeting activities, the system development lifecycle, acquisition processes, and system engineering processes. Next up, we have the head of the agency. In a business, of course, this is going to be your CEO. The head of the agency is the senior official in the organization with the responsibility for ensuring that privacy interests are protected and that PII is managed responsibly within the organization. They're responsible for providing security protections commensurate with risk resulting from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction of information collected or maintained by or on behalf of the agency, and also the information systems used or operated by an agency or by a contractor of an agency or other organization on behalf of an agency. The head of the agency ensures that information security and privacy management processes are integrated with strategic and operational planning processes. They ensure that senior officials within the organization provide information security for the information and systems that support the operations and assets under their control. They ensure that the chief privacy officials are designated who are responsible and accountable for ensuring compliance with privacy requirements, managing privacy risk, and the organization's privacy program. The head of the agency will ensure that the organization has adequately trained personnel to assist in complying with security and privacy requirements in legislation, executive orders, standards, instructions, guidelines, etc. They also establish the organization's commitment to security and privacy and the actions required to effectively manage security and privacy risk and protect the missions and business functions that are being carried out by the organization. The head of the agency establishes security and privacy accountability and provides active support and oversight of monitoring and improvement of the security and privacy programs. The head of the agency establishes a level of due diligence within the organization that promotes a climate for mission and business success. Next up is your information owner or steward. The information owner or steward is an organizational official with statutory management or operational authority for specified information and the responsibility for establishing the policies and procedures that govern its generation, collection, processing, dissemination, and disposal. In information sharing environments, the information owner is responsible for establishing the rules for appropriate use and protection of the information and retains that responsibility even when the information is shared with or provided to other organizations. The information owner may or may not be the same individual as the system owner. An individual system may contain information that has multiple information owners. Information owners provide input to system owners regarding the security and privacy requirements and the controls for systems where their information is processed, stored, or transmitted. Okay, next up, mission or business owner. The mission or business owner is a chief official or executive within an organization with specific mission or line of business responsibilities. They have security and privacy interests in the systems that support those missions or lines of business for which they're responsible. They play a significant role in establishing business processes and the protection needs and security and privacy requirements that ensure the successful conduct of the business operations. Mission and business owners provide essential inputs to the risk management strategy. They also play an active role in the system development life cycle and may serve in the role of authorizing official. Okay, the risk executive function. The risk executive function is an individual or group within an organization that provides a comprehensive, organization-wide approach to risk management. They serve as the common risk management resource for executives, business owners, chief information officers, and all of the other roles with a vested interest in the mission business success of the organization. They ensure the risk executive function ensures that risk-related considerations for systems are viewed from an organization-wide perspective regarding the organization's strategic goals and objectives in carrying out its core missions and business functions. The risk executive function ensures that managing risk is consistent across the organization, reflects organizational risk tolerance, and is considered along with other types of risk to ensure business success. The risk executive function presumes neither a specific organizational structure nor formal responsibility assigned to any one individual or group within the organization. Head of agencies may choose to retain the risk executive function or to delegate the function. It just depends. It requires a mix of skills, expertise, and perspectives to understand the strategic goals and objectives of the organization and the business function, the technical possibilities and constraints, and key mandates and guidance that shape operations. So the risk executive function can be filled by a single individual or office supported by expert staff or by a designated group, for example, a risk board, executive steering committee, executive leadership council, or some other kind of group. The risk executive function fits into the organization's governance structure in such a way as to facilitate efficiency and effectiveness. The risk executive function coordinates with senior leaders and executives to establish your risk management roles and responsibilities, to develop and implement an organization-wide risk management strategy that provides a strategic view of security-related risk for the organization, and that guides and informs your organization's risk decisions. And this is part of the risk management process from NIST to frame, assess, respond, and monitor. So that strategy talks about how the organization is going to frame, assess, respond, and monitor risk. The risk executive function will provide a comprehensive, organization-wide, holistic approach for addressing risk, an approach that provides a greater understanding of the integrated operations of the business. The executive function, risk executive function, will manage threat, vulnerability, and security privacy risk information for systems and their environments of operation. The risk executive function will establish organization-wide forums to consider all types and sources of risk, including aggregated risk. They identify the organizational risk posture based on the aggregated risk from the operation and use of systems and the respective environments of operation for which the organization is responsible. They provide oversight for the risk management activities to ensure consistent and effective risk-based decisions. They develop a broad-based understanding of risk regarding the strategic view of organizations and their integrated operations. The risk executive functions will establish effective vehicles and serve as a focal point for communicating and sharing risk-related information among your key stakeholders, both internally and externally to the organization. They specify the degree of autonomy for subordinate organizations permitted by the parent organization regarding how they frame, assess, respond to, and monitor risk. And it also promotes cooperation and collaboration among authorizing officials to include authorization actions requiring shared responsibility. The risk executive function, we're still talking about that role, will provide an organization-wide forum to consider all sources of risk to organizational operations and assets, individuals, other organizations, and the nation. They ensure that authorization decisions consider all factors necessary for mission and business success, and they ensure that shared responsibility for supporting the organization's missions and business functions using external providers. They ensure that it receives the needed visibility and is elevated to appropriate decision-making authorities. Okay, let me say that again. They ensure shared responsibility for supporting organizational missions and business functions using external providers, receives the needed visibility, and is elevated to appropriate decision-making authorities. All right, your security or privacy architect. What do they do? The security or privacy architect is an individual, group, or organization that ensures that the stakeholders' security and privacy requirements are adequately addressed in all aspects of enterprise architecture, including reference models, segment and solution architects, and the systems supporting missions and business processes. The security or privacy architect serves as the primary liaison between the enterprise architect and the system security or privacy engineer. They coordinate with system owners, common control providers, and system security or privacy officers on the allocation of controls. They advise in coordination with system security or privacy officers, authorizing officials, CIOs, senior accountable officials for risk management, and senior officials for privacy on a range of security and privacy issues. So they advise on a range of security and privacy issues. For example, establishing authorization boundaries, establishing a security or privacy alert, assessing deficiencies in the system or in controls, developing effective POAMs, creating risk mitigation approaches, and potential adverse effects of vulnerabilities or privacy risks. Okay, then you have, this is another role, your senior accountable official for risk management. This person is the individual that leads and manages the risk executive function, normally the agency head or an individual designated by the agency head. The senior accountable official for risk management is responsible for aligning information security management processes with strategic, operational, and budgetary planning processes. They determine the organizational structure and responsibilities of the risk executive function. The head of the agency, in coordination with the senior accountable official for risk management, may retain the risk executive function or delegate that function to another organization, official, or group. Inherently, this is a U.S. government function assigned to government personnel only. That is your senior accountable official for risk management. All right, the Senior Agency Information Security Officer, also known as the Chief Information Security Officer in the private sector. They are responsible for carrying out the Chief Information Security Officer responsibilities under FISMA. They may also be referred to as the Senior Information Security Officer, the CISO, or the Chief Information Security Officer. They serve as the primary liaison for the Chief Information Officer to the organization's authorizing officials, system owners, common control providers, and system security officers. The Chief Information Security Officer works with the senior agency official for privacy to ensure coordination between security and privacy programs. They have the professional qualifications, including training and experience, to administer security program functions, maintain security duties as a primary responsibility, and head an office with a specific mission and resources to assist the organization in achieving trustworthy security information and systems in keeping with FISMA requirements. The Chief Information Security Officer may serve as an authorizing official designated representative or as a security control assessor. Now, the Senior Agency Official for Privacy. The Senior Agency Official for Privacy, or as I like to call it, the Chief Privacy Officer, is the senior executive with agency-wide responsibility and accountability for ensuring compliance with applicable privacy requirements and for managing privacy risk. They coordinate with the Chief Information Security Officer to ensure coordination of privacy and information security activities. They review and approve the categorization of information systems that create, collect, use, process, store, maintain, disseminate, disclose, or dispose of PII. They designate which privacy controls will be treated as program management, common, system-specific, and hybrid privacy controls. They identify assessment methodologies and metrics to determine whether privacy controls are implemented correctly, operating as intended, and sufficient to ensure compliance with the privacy requirements and manage privacy risk. They review and approve privacy plans for information systems prior to authorization, reauthorization, or ongoing authorization. The Chief Privacy Officer reviews authorization packages for information systems that create, collect, use, process, store, disseminate, disclose of PII to ensure compliance with privacy requirements and to manage privacy risk. They conduct and document the results of privacy control assessments to verify the continued effectiveness of all privacy controls. They establish and maintain a privacy continuous monitoring program to maintain ongoing awareness of privacy risk and assess privacy controls at a frequency sufficient to ensure compliance with the privacy requirements and to manage privacy risk. Next up is your system administrator. Your system administrator is an individual, group, or organization responsible for, among other things, setting up and maintaining a system or specific components of a system, installing, configuring, and updating the hardware and software, establishing and managing user accounts, overseeing or conducting backup and recovery tasks, implementing controls, adhering to organizational security and privacy policies and procedures. Then we have the system owner. The system owner is an individual responsible for the procurement, development, integration, modification, operation, maintenance, and disposal of a system. Organizations may refer to system owners as program managers or business asset owners. The system owner addresses the operational interests of the user community, that is, users who require access to the system to satisfy business or operational requirements. They ensure compliance with security requirements. The system owner develops and maintains the security and privacy plans. The system owner ensures that the system is deployed and operated in keeping with the selected and implemented controls. They decide who has access to the system and with what types of privileges or access rights. The responsibility for deciding who has access to specific information within a system may reside with the information owner. The system owner ensures that system users and support personnel receive the requisite security and privacy training. They use guidance from the authorizing official to inform organizational officials of the need to conduct the authorization, ensure that resources are available for the effort, and provide the required system access, information, and documentation to the control assessors. And the system owner receives the security and privacy assessment results from the control assessors. After taking steps to reduce or eliminate vulnerability or privacy risk, the system owner assembles the authorization package and submits the authorization package to the AO or to the AO's designated representative for adjudication. The AO may choose to designate an individual other than the system owner to compile and assemble the information for the authorization package. In this situation, the designated individual coordinates the compilation and assembly activities with the system owner. All right, next up is your system security or privacy officer. The system security or privacy officer is an individual responsible for ensuring that the security and privacy posture is maintained for a system. They work in close collaboration with the system owner. They serve as a principal advisor on all matters, technical and otherwise, that involve the controls for the system. The system security or privacy officer has the knowledge and expertise to manage the security or privacy aspects of a system, and in many organizations, they are assigned responsibility for the day-to-day system security or privacy operations. They may also include, the role may also include, but is not limited to, physical and environmental protection, personnel security, incident handling, and security and privacy training and awareness. The system security or privacy officer may be called upon to assist in the development of the system-level security or privacy policies and procedures, and to ensure compliance with those policies and procedures. In close coordination with the system owner, the system security officer plays an active role in the monitoring of a system and its environment of operation, to include developing and updating security and privacy plans, managing and controlling changes to the system, and assessing the security or privacy impact of those changes. Then we have the system user. And we're almost done, guys. Thank you for hanging in there, because I got to go really quickly. The system user is an individual or system processes acting on behalf of an individual authorized to access information and systems to perform their duties. System user responsibilities include, but are not limited to, adhering to the organization's policies that govern acceptable use of the systems, using the organization provided information technology resources for defined purposes only, reporting suspicious system behavior. Then you have your system security or privacy engineer. The system security or privacy engineer is an individual, group, or organization responsible for conducting system security or privacy engineering activities as part of the system development lifecycle. System security and privacy engineering is a process that captures and refines security or privacy requirements for systems and helps to ensure that the requirements are effectively integrated into systems and system components through security or privacy architecting, design, development, and configuration. System security or privacy engineers are an integral part of the development team, designing and developing systems or upgrading existing systems. System security or privacy engineers employ best practices when implementing controls within a system, including software engineering methodologies, system and security or privacy engineering principles, security or privacy enhancing design, security or privacy enhancing architecture, and security or privacy enhancing coding techniques. These people coordinate security and privacy related activities with your chief information security officer, your chief privacy officers, security and privacy architects, system owners, common control providers, and system security or privacy officers. And that, guys, are the 20 roles in the NIST risk management process / framework. Authorizing official, designated representative, chief information officer, common control provider, contracting officer representative, control assessor, enterprise architect, head of agency or CEO, information owner or steward, mission or business owner, risk executive function, security or privacy architect, senior official, accountable official for risk management, chief information security officer, your senior agency official for privacy, the system administrator, system owner, system security or privacy officer, system user, and system security or privacy engineer. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for these few moments, guys. I hope this is helpful to you. Keep coming back, like, subscribe, leave comments. If there's a video you'd like for me to make, please leave that in the comments and I'll read it and get back with you and make the video if I can. Thanks a bunch and have a great day.